Good evening. My name is Julie, and before I begin my formal reflection, I'd like you to give a little background about me. I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado, therefore I'm a huge Colorado sports fan. My family, however, are Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen fans, so I also root for them as long as they aren't playing for the Broncos. Being from Colorado, I enjoy country music, line dancing, and Tex-Mex food. I've also been fortunate to have lived in the UK, where I developed a love for afternoon tea, the royal family, and Ted Lasso. Feel free to talk to me about any of these things after the service. Now, on to the official reflection. My reflection this evening is about the amazing people God puts in our life and how they show God's love through their grace and kindness. My family and I have been attending Abiding Presence since we moved here from the UK in early 2017. I found Abiding Presence on the ELCA website for local Lutheran churches. I come from a long line of Scandinavian Lutheran women originally from Minnesota. My mom even worked for the Swedish consulate in Denver for over 30 years. She was also a Sunday school teacher at Bethany Lutheran in Englewood, Colorado throughout my childhood. I was looking for a church close to our home that also had a thriving children's ministry for our growing family, similar to what I had experienced. And at the time, I was about to become pregnant with our second child. When I found Abiding Presence online, I was excited to see that the senior pastor was a woman and also a mother of two. I would later learn that my next-door neighbor taught Pastor Emeritus girls in preschool. My family and I started attending services. Our toddler loved watching the musicians, especially the drums, and then going to the outdoor playground after church. There was no shortage of children's programming. At that time, between services, we would take all the children into Bailey Hall before Sunday school. The kids would gather on the floor to watch a puppet show and then place $1 each in the offering basket and pray together before being dismissed by grade into the classrooms. We loved it. In January 2018, my husband started an online doctoral program at GW. And while it was an accelerated doctoral program, he was taking classes on nights and weekends while continuing to work full-time. I was almost in my third trimester, and we had a 2.5-year-old with no shortage of energy or curiosity. I was exhausted physically and mentally. We were still relatively new to the area with no family to help nearby. I was feeling overwhelmed and alone. We continued to attend Abiding Presence, still relatively new to the congregation. I have photos of us dating back to Easter of 2018, with the petting zoo and a family picture in front of the flower cross outside the main entrance. That would become a family tradition, taking a photo as a family there every Easter. In May 2018, our daughter was born. My mom came out to help for a few weeks, followed by my mother-in-law. But once they left, I again was feeling very alone. We didn't know it at the time, but our daughter had a severe dairy allergy. She wasn't sleeping well, so I wasn't sleeping well. At 5 months, I went back to work full-time, and she went to daycare. I was beyond tired. My postpartum anxiety and depression were increasing. I didn't want to be away from her, but I didn't want to be alone with her either. This was a constant internal struggle. At night or weekends, I didn't feel comfortable taking my newborn and toddler anywhere by myself, and my husband was busy with school. I finally got the courage to come to church with the kids by myself, but I didn't feel comfortable being in the sanctuary. So instead, I sat out in the lobby during the service. Pastor Meredith started the service as she usually does with, "Take a breath." It was the first time I had felt peace in months. Eventually, I would make it to Abiding table with my daughter so I could talk to other adults and have access to a healthy breakfast and a hot beverage. These are precious gifts to moms with young kids. One Sunday, I was having a particularly hard time. Pastor Meredith saw me in the lobby, and she asked how I was doing. I started to tear up. She said, I have someone I want you to meet. I was introduced to Miss Tamra, who has a background in counseling and is also a mom. She became my guardian angel. Miss Tamra came to our house as part of the Stevens Ministry program to meet my family and talk to me about my needs and my struggles. My house was a disaster. I was a mess. The kids were crazy, and I was so embarrassed. I remember crying. I was so overwhelmed. I told her, I don't want to be a bad mom. And she hugged me and said, I know you don't. It was comforting and reassuring. I didn't feel alone anymore. I did not cry when I practiced reading this at home. Miss Tamara would connect with me on Sunday mornings at church. She would text me frequently to check in. In one text, she sent me a picture of 2 dogs in a mud puddle. One dog is much taller than the other, and the mud only covers his paws. The other dog is really short, and the mud is almost up to his head. And the caption read, "We all go through the same things differently." This really hit me. I constantly felt like I was failing as a mom and that I was the only one who couldn't figure out how to raise 2 young kids on my own without help or sleep, and often without much food. Ms. Tamara was giving me the grace to start letting go of my guilt and letting go of my fear. She suggested a book for my husband and I called This Isn't What I Expected: Overcoming Postpartum Depression, which was a huge help explaining what I was experiencing and that it wasn't my fault. There was also a chapter specifically for spouses to help understand what's happening to their partner and how they can support. This was a turning point for my husband, who was struggling to understand what I was feeling and how he could help me. Pastor Meredith also connected me with the MOPS group, who embraced me even though I couldn't make any of their meetings. A special thanks to Carrie, Debbie, Michelle, and Emily for supporting me during my postpartum journey. Pastor Meredith also referred me to an amazing Lutheran counselor, Dr. Aaron, who I'm still connected with 7 years later. The church and the amazing community got me through a really challenging time in my life, and I feel I will never be able to convey how impactful the support system at Abiding Presence was for me. All of these things together were critical to my improvement. My goal now is to try in some small way to pay it forward to other parents or families who might be facing something similar, that you're not alone, it's not your fault, we all go through the same things differently, it's okay not to be okay, and we have some amazing people who can walk alongside you. At one point when I had come through the most difficult times, I thanked Ms. Tamara and said, "Thank you for saving me." And she said, "No, you saved yourself." In the spirit of paying it forward, I recently joined the newly formed Parent Advisory Council led by Ms. Michaela. Ms. Michaela is such a joy and blessing to the children's ministry at Abiding Presence. My children have such a positive relationship with God and explore their own faith journey because of her amazing leadership. The entire Sunday school model and family ministry program is phenomenal. I want to thank Ms. Lori and all the Sunday school teachers who have made learning about Jesus fun for my kids and something they look forward to. The engagement of our high school and middle school students teaching our elementary school kids is so impactful, and our college internship program is brilliant. I hope my kids will want to pay it forward and become CITs in a few years, and hopefully that takes longer than I'm sure it will. And while my children are no longer toddlers, my husband has finished his doctoral program, and I'm starting to get a little bit more sleep, I tend to feel more comfortable sitting in the lobby instead of the sanctuary, which is where you have probably seen me and my family in their Buffalo Bills attire. The lobby area has changed into an amazing place for young ones to play and explore while still experiencing the Word of God and the amazing church community. Parenting really does take a village, and I'm so grateful that God led me here to my village, Abiding Presence. Thank you.